Good afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
We are out here on Philip's porch at the Bragg Howard House. It was built around 1865, maybe earlier.
Probably about 1865.
So cool. But we're not actually going to talk about the house. What are we going to talk about? Well, we're kind of going to talk about the house, aren't we?
In a way. I want to talk about this. Can you see it okay?
Can you spin it around a little bit and hold it up and sideways? Wow, look at that. That's pretty big. What's the size of it, you think?
Well, let's see.
About 1.5 feet?
About 1.5 feet on each side. When you look at it, it's obviously a hand-hewn item, and it was obviously intentionally created like this. But the other interesting thing about it is that the grain of the wood actually forms this angle. And there were about 6 or 8 of these underneath this house. Part of the original construction that held the floor joists up to the outer beam of the house. And we had to remove this one when we elevated the house. We did some additions or corrections underneath the house. And so I kept this one out just to take a look at. You might wonder where this came from. It was not originally designed for house construction. This was part of a sailing vessel, undoubtedly a sailing vessel that wrecked on Ocracoke, probably in the 19th century. And most of these ship's knees, because the way the grain of the wood is, the way the tree grew, most of these were made from tamarack or hackmatack tree. They grew in kind of marshy areas in Canada, down into the northern parts of the United States. But they were perfect for ship's knees because of the way the tree trunk and the roots were formed.
Okay, now you said you just casually threw out the term ship's knee without really explaining.
Well, yeah. Well, it was a way to hold the parts of the ship together, the decking and the ribs of the ship. So it was an integral part of a sailing vessel.
And to nail 2 pieces in a 90-degree angle like that would be not nearly as strong.
Strong, no, not at all.
But to have the grain actually growing that way and then being able to manipulate it just a bit to make it work.
That's what gave it its strength.
Yeah.
But there's an interesting story about the hackmatack tree. People also salvage these from shipwrecks for firewood in their fireplaces. All the lumber was often salvaged that way. But this particular species of tree throws out a lot of sparks when it burns. So you had to be careful that you didn't set your house on fire when the sparks and the embers would fly out into the house.
You had to know what kind of wood you were burning and be prepared for the hackmatack.
That's right. But there's this story about a woman named Aunt Sal Stanford, who was a very unconventional woman in many ways. I wrote about her. You can find information on our blog. But she apparently had some disagreements with some of the church people. And as she got in her older age, she always said she wanted to be buried in a hackmatack box so she could go to hell a-popping and a snapping. So anyway, this is a ship's knee on almost certainly from a hackmatack tree.
Cool. Well, we're not going to try burning it to see if it pops.
We're not.
And
We're going to keep it as
and some
historic.
of the original ones are under the house still.
There are
right?
about 6 still holding this house together.
And that's probably true for a lot of houses around
A lot of
here,
older
so
houses.
There
exactly.
you go, the hackmatack ship's knee and a little history behind that. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.